Welcome to another edition of Wings Weekly, and this week, kind of a holiday edition of Wings Weekly. Jay Kleinknecht here, along with head coach Scott Langer. Coach, kind of quiet around the locker room here, obviously, as a break underway for the holidays and so on. How was your Christmas?
Yeah, it was good. I can't complain. Took a few days off and enjoyed the family, so it was. I think it was well-needed rest.
Yeah. Do you guys have any traditions that, or maybe a traditional meal or something like that that every year is the same?
No.
Kind of mix it up?
Yeah, we kind of mix it up, and it was a pretty quiet holiday for us.
All right. Well, going back, obviously, to the last games played, a split with St. Cloud here at the ODI Center, a 5-0 win on Friday, and then an 0-4 loss on Saturday, and they played really well Saturday, and some excellent goaltending for St. Cloud that night as well. I know it seemed like a long time ago, but what did you take away from the weekend?
Well, I thought our first night was really good. I mean, a lot of aspects of our game were solid. Mm-hmm. Move on to Saturday, and at first I thought, they jumped us a little bit. They had a lot more energy. They did a lot of good things. And then I watched the tape, and we were on Christmas break. There was no question. The goals that we gave up were not our style of goals to give up, and we handed them 3 easy goals, and basically the game was over at that point because of their goaltending and the way that they play team defense. So there's certainly things that we need to improve on quickly with Bismarck coming in, and I can't wait to get the guys back in here and start preparing for them.
Sure. Well, it seems like every year that's kind of a challenge, especially for a home game. On the road, it doesn't ever seem like it's as big of a deal, but I can think, for years now, it seems like that's kind of a bit of a challenge because they are looking forward to heading home and being with family and so on. When do they come back?
We'll practice on Wednesday. Okay. So all of our guys will be back prior to that, and we'll get after it Wednesday. Okay.
Well, like you mentioned earlier this season, that it's virtually impossible to run the table and win every game. I mean, you knew it was going to happen eventually, but a heck of a start to this season. And now, people jokingly are like, "Well, now the season's tanked, it's over." And I always laugh, "Yeah, right," But now start a new streak, so to speak, and like you said, you've got a good Bismarck team coming in, and we'll talk about them in just a moment. I wanted to mention, though, Saturday night there were a couple of guys that really stood out to me. Not that the whole team wasn't working their butts off, but there were a couple that were just red-faced, and you could just tell they were giving everything they had. And Nielsen, Matsui, and Verdes particularly, I just noticed that those guys, they were not giving up. Even with 3 minutes left and being down 4-0, there was no quit in them, and I thought that was really cool. And I saw a side of Nathan Verdes that I haven't seen him play with that much fire really before. It was a pretty exciting game to watch, even in a loss, because of how hard they worked.
Yeah, those 3 guys, they're going to surface a lot in those type of situations because they hate to lose hockey games, and especially Vertes, he took that pretty hard, and you can tell he truly cares. He really cares about this team. He cares about his teammates, and he cares about winning hockey games. And there's no question that there was some things Vertes was doing that we haven't seen yet, and it's in him. Yeah. He had some anger to his game, and it was fun to watch. But there's certain guys on this team that are, and I mean, for the first 15 games, everybody on this team has went all out, red-faced, find a way, any way they can to win a hockey game, and we would just at that point where some guys were tired, whether some guys were checked out a little bit. If so, that's on me. But got to give St. Cloud credit for the way they played team defense. I mean, they had 5 guys above the puck at all times, screaming and yelling to get back. And I know we had a chance there to maybe get some life with the 2-on-1 that hit the crossbar. But it just wasn't our night, and none of that matters. Yeah. None of that matters. The 15-1, that's great. That's going to help us potentially, at the end, make the playoffs. But now we have Bismarck coming in, and it's a whole new season. A lot of these teams are really starting to get going after making tons of personnel changes and utilizing, bringing players in versus developing them. But they they're good.
Yeah.
All these teams that we're playing down the stretch are good hockey teams.
Well, St. Cloud's an example of that. We talked about it going into that weekend that they had, were able to pull off a win in Minot and in Bismarck, and were, definitely improving. You mentioned Bismarck. Obviously, they come in this weekend. They play Minot Thursday night and then come here and play Friday and Saturday. What have you seen lately on film of Bismarck? What do you see as some keys?
A lot of confidence over there. They're playing with a lot of confidence. They obviously have a lot of new faces over there that they inserted into their lineup, and I think the biggest thing is that they're playing with a lot of confidence,
yeah.
And it shows with the way that they're playing each night. So, when our two teams get together, it's a heated battle, and we both fight for points. So, I don't expect anything different.
I'm sure not. Right now, the standings look like this, folks. The Wings with 30 points, 16 games played. Minot in second with 19 points, 17 games played. Bismarck with 16 points, 17 games played. Then Austin, 10 points, 11 games played. St. Cloud with 6 points and 10 games played. While Idle Wilderness, the Minnesota Wilderness, with 3 games played and 3 points. I've asked you this before too, so I know probably what you're going to say. But does getting them refocused after they come back from break a challenge? Because I know in the past you've said at this level it better not be, basically. But with the travel and with the scheduling changes and all kinds of different things going on, I would imagine to some degree that can be a problem.
Well, it can be. You find with this age group that guys are excited to go home and see their families, but they're even more excited to get back with their buddies. And you find the energy level the first few days back to be really good, and that's what I'm expecting. There was a lot of hurt feelings in this locker room when we lost that game,
yeah.
And it tells you the type of guys we have in here. So the staff will do everything they can to have this team focused, playing at home against a really good hockey team. So we have to win hockey games. It's just what we do. So we'll refocus these guys as soon as they get in. We'll snap them back into it Wednesday night, and we'll be ready for the weekend.
Okay. Had a chance to follow along World Juniors at all?
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously some of the games are just a rout, and I just
There's been some upsets and all kinds of stuff.
I lose some interest there pretty quickly, but as it gets to the end, when teams are really battling, I'm gonna obviously tune in, and hopefully U.S. can find a way.
All right. Well, Coach, that's about all I've got for you here. We'll be joined by Assistant Coach Mike Hill in the second portion of Wings Weekly. Again, thanks for taking some time to talk with us. I hope you had a great Christmas. As you mentioned, it sounds like it was pretty relaxed, and that's good. And best of luck against Bismarck.
Thanks, Jay.
All right, folks, we'll return with the second portion of Wings Weekly coming up after this.
How you move matters. Avera Orthopedics helps you move freely and live life to the fullest with innovative treatment options customized to your bone, muscle, and joint needs. Whether you suffer from aches, breaks, tears, or dislocations, turn to the orthopedic team experienced in treating every body.
Welcome back as we continue on with Wings Weekly, and as promised, Assistant Coach Mike Hill is joining me. And Coach, we were just talking, at least once or twice a year I get to have you on, usually around the holiday break and then also around top prospects, depending upon how that all shakes out. So it's good to have you on. I hope you had a great Christmas.
Yeah, pretty good.
Excellent. Coach Langer said his was fairly quiet. I think that's kind of the sentiment for a lot of people this year. There wasn't a lot of big gatherings and overly festive events and so on. But so how'd yours play out?
Good. I spent most of the Christmas building an ice rink in the backyard for the girls.
Okay.
So just still waiting on the last couple of lower inches to freeze over, and I think it'll be good. So yeah, that was my big project. Made a 24 by 24s in our backyard and linered it and started filling it up with water. That's the process there.
So how do you zam it?
So like in the past, when we lived in Wisconsin, we had just buckets of hot water.
Sure.
And then one of our snow shovels. Just lay down the hot water and kind of go over it nice and smooth with the snow shovels to
See,
get that smoothness out of it.
I've seen videos of a young man who has a pedal tractor, and it pulls behind a bucket, that, like a tub that has hot water in it. And he actually zams his own rink, and I was like, I can see.
Geniuses. I'm not that. I'm creative, but I don't know if I
go quite that far.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know you and your wife both are pretty big about gluten-free eating and cooking and so on. So how does a Christmas meal look like that's entirely gluten-free?
Well, we could basically make anything gluten-free.
Yeah.
There's good brands out there that make gluten-free bread and all that, gluten-free flour. So we had this Christmas was a roast, a nice beef roast. Years before, it's like a prime rib, usually what we do. So any meats are gluten-free generally, because the only thing that you have gluten is like the wheat, barley, and it's like that. That's kind of what really makes up gluten. So you could have like almond flour as like different types of alternatives for flour, and coconut flour, all kinds of stuff. So when she makes like the mashed potatoes, and we have the gravy, because gravy is a lot of flour.
Sure.
So we use a specific gluten-free flour to kind of thicken up the gravies from the oils and juices from the meat. Okay. And that's how we make the gluten-free. So it's kind of cheating, because you're just using gluten-free flour rather than normal flour,
right,
and stuff like that. So
all right, well, excellent, sounds good. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit, and in years past I have kind of asked the same question, but from year to year, people that are aging like me forget things, and maybe we'll remind them a little bit of what an assistant coach's duties are. What would you say is the top 5 things that you have to handle, and key parts of your role, I suppose?
I think a big part is breaking down the video and presenting it to the team, and then also head coach Langer. So I think that's a big major number one, is breaking that down. Coach Langer relies on me a lot during practice to make sure the flow of it keeps going, so we're not getting caught up on stuff, so that we continue to maintain the type of minutes that we want to obtain, so we don't want to get too long or too short. So practice management time is another one.
Okay.
For me, he puts on me the power play. He handles the penalty kill. And so that's I think a big third thing there. And then analytics and numbers is probably that fourth thing that I'm always looking at each week, where we're doing, like, from anywhere from hits to pass percentage, or
We're just going to actually mention that there's
shots
a lot of numbers and stats that aren't necessarily on a regular stat sheet that you guys really look at closely.
Yeah, it's the analytics is really driving the game now. So that's one thing I'm really I'm a little bit passionate about, because I really enjoy seeing the numbers on some things, like, well, that explains why this is happening.
Sure.
This is where our number is there. So.
Or you can probably see some trends and stuff too.
Yeah, for sure, and it's good seeing the trends with our team, other teams, how they're doing, what we're doing. So that's I think the fourth thing.
Yeah.
I think, did you ask for 5? We'll just go with 4.
Yeah, 4 is good. How about on the road? Do things change up on the road at all, as far as what is asked of you, of what you need to do?
No, not too much. I mean, like in between game to game, Friday to Saturday, there's a little bit more, like even at home though, but from the breaking down the game for the night before is a lot different, because we're on, compared to pre-scout to a game scout, is a little bit different video that you're pulling.
Okay.
So on the road, it's just kind of after, like, I'll run a team exercise workout little thing on Saturday on the road, usually about 30-45 minutes or so, something like that, and then the guys go get their like recovery time after that. Usually it's in the early morning.
So not a whole lot different on the road than at home, because you're instead of gathering them up in a hotel parking lot or something, they're here at the OD. But I mean, it's just really the same kind of thing in that sense. Okay, interesting. All right. You brought up the power play. I wanted to ask you about that a little bit, because when you look at what the Wings have been able to do with the specialty teams this year. It's your top power play, top penalty kill in the league. And granted, people can say, well, there's some teams that aren't playing, whatever. It doesn't matter. The fact is the numbers are fantastic. Have been really good. What is working so well with the power play and with the penalty kill as a whole?
I think it's just a different approach this year. I mean, in the past, Smack already, his kill is, his expectations for that are what they are, and that's why he's always had a lot of success on the kill. And then, so for me too, on the power play, my expectations and the way that I'm kind of looking at it this year is a little different than past years, where I'm really looking at different situations more.
Okay.
And I think presenting those little situations, help the guys in a broad spectrum, and I think that's where we're seeing a lot more success.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Because just in years past, and whatever, it's not often you see a 50% power play on a night or whatever, and we've seen that on multiple occasions, and you just kind of go, wow, there's there are some things that are working pretty well. Coach Langer mentioned that the boys come back Wednesday and you'll get them practicing and so on. Do you guys check in with them at all while they're gone and kind of make sure that they're staying active or whatever? Is there kind of a...
Yeah. Right away after our last game, I just met with the whole team as they're on their way out, kind of encouraging them, take a couple days off to recover, get the body well, and then get right back at it. Make sure that you're keeping the legs going, and that you're doing everything you can to make sure that when we report Wednesday that we didn't lose a whole lot.
Yeah.
So, and then also texting the guys every few days or so during the break, making sure they know I'm still alive and stuff like that. So
throw a few chirps their way too. I would imagine too, travel issues and so on. Was everybody? I wouldn't imagine that Cade and Nate were able to go home.
So Cade had family in Texas. He was able to go to. Cool. Nate stayed home, or here in Aberdeen with his billets. He lives with the Kellers, so a great family. And we did have Fraser to go back to Canada, and he was able to come right back with no issues. He actually got back yesterday. So yeah, no issues for him to get back home, see the family for a few days, and make his way back safely.
Glad to hear it. I know earlier this year I had Nathan on the show, and he was talking about the big meals that his billet family put up for Thanksgiving last year. He was like, "Oh, I can't wait for one." He likes food, that's for sure. The big holiday meals are certainly work well in your favor, especially when you're in Europe. You don't have a Thanksgiving, so get a bonus holiday this year, or this year and last year. I wanted to talk with you a little bit too about warm-up music, and I know that you're pretty tech savvy, a bit of a DJ, mixing music together and you getting something for when the guys go out for warm-ups.
Yeah, I generally ask the guys what songs do they like. Are they family appropriate? Got to make sure that there's nothing in there that's explicit lyrics, and if there are, I can edit them out. I've been pretty hands-on on music for quite a while. I grew up playing the drums, guitar, and ukulele, bass, so I dabbled in all the instruments, keyboards and stuff. So, and with everything nowadays with computer programs, Logic Pro and stuff like that, it's very simple to kind of manipulate if you know your basic chords and everything like that to put something together. And that's what I do for the guys when it comes to the on-ice warm-ups, is put together a 15, 16-minute long, extended length
track.
Playlist track kind of deal where it all syncs together. And so yeah, I think that comes from a little bit of a music background, just kind of knowing the key and everything that you need to follow, the beats per minute, and making sure that it all syncs together. So
very interesting. Yeah. I knew you had played some instruments, but I wasn't thinking the ukulele for some reason. Yeah. That's kind of cool.
When I played for Smack in Topeka, I actually would bring my ukulele on the road because it's so small, and I could just play it on the bus or in the hotel room.
There you go.
Yeah.
When you were playing, what was your go-to for warm-ups?
Oh, I was actually more of like a rocker. I liked a little bit, not necessarily like heavy metal stuff. Like I think, like I consider like Metallica a little bit more heavy metal. So I liked more, I guess, more alternative rock.
Okay.
Yeah, and I wasn't really big into like the electronic dance music till more so after junior hockey, college and stuff like that. So.
Right on. You mentioned when we were talking about the duties and the roles of what an assistant coach has to do to help a head coach and so on. You mentioned scouting, and of course that's during the season, post game, pre game, that kind of thing. Do you do any scouting or along the recruiting lines? And when you see the Wings announce that they've signed a new tender or whatever, are you involved in that process too?
Somewhat. We do have some very good scouting partners out there that help us out a lot. For me, there's like in the past, I have been able to like drive to Minnesota, Fargo, or wherever during the season where it's a down and back.
Sure.
Kind of recruiting scouting deal, and then during the summers is a lot more heavier. Like this summer, everything in the past year has been a little bit different. So I actually haven't been getting out of Aberdeen much to go recruit and scout like that. But generally, I would be getting out, especially during the summer months, to travel and see new players and discover new players as we go on. So.
Okay. One of the other questions I wanted to ask a little about, and I think again this is probably one that I've asked last year at some point or something, but I know that there are some coaching staffs where maybe one coach is a little bit more hands-on in interaction with players, like the face-to-face conversations and the laughing and joking, where the other coach is a little more standoffish or whatever. Would you say that's the case here? Would you say that you're a little bit more involved in the, I guess, personal relationship with the player?
I think both. Yeah. Smack and I are both involved in all kinds of ways. Like we're like with our open door policy, players that can come to me at any time, go to him at any time. I think that's our personable part. I think I'm a little bit more hands-on on the joking guys, like tripping them a bit and stuff like that. And but I think our guys know a huge deal about like the seriousness of when it's time to get to work. So, and even if I see guys struggling in a time of work, I like to give them a little joke to lighten them up too, even though sometimes they're just gripping their stick too tight, and just go let them know, hey, listen up, you're a little too tight on this. Just gotta make sure say something where it's gonna bring him a little bit of light, kind of forget a mistake to look forward.
Yeah, and be having fun with it. Yeah, because it can get heavy. I remember, I think it was last year during Top Prospects when you were on, there were some players in here actually, because they were going to be on the second portion. We like caught the chirping live. Like you're looking right at them, talking to them, and they're over there like, really? Like we can't even say anything back right now. That made me laugh pretty hard. I know, but I've been a part of teams in the past though where I've actually heard a head coach say, it's not my job to talk to them. That's your job, and I was kind of thought that was interesting. But I know that even in the NHL and so on, there's kind of a, there's a difference of different roles. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. I'm glad to hear that it could, because obviously the family mentality that the Wings have, I wouldn't think it would play very well if you weren't both accessible. And so all right.
I think that's a good point there. The whole family part. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I appreciate you coming on, and again, it sounds like you had a great Christmas, and I'm sure the girls are going to be excited about getting out, having their own ice.
Yeah.
Best of luck coming up against Bismarck, and I'm sure we'll have you on probably at least one more time this year. But thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right, folks, January 1st versus the Bismarck Bobcats. New Year, New You weekend. Show a valid YMCA membership at the door and receive a $2 off admission both nights. $15 corporate bar stool seats are available. Call Aaron at 605-380-5852. Saturday again, show a valid YMCA membership at the door and receive $2 off admission. And again, $15 corporate bar stool seats are available. Aspire Jersey Auction check presentation will be happening on Saturday night as well. Looking forward to that. Doors open at 5:30 and the puck always drops at 7:15. Get your tickets now at tickets.aberdeenwings.com. $10 general admission tickets are also on sale now at any of the 4 Sea Express locations in Aberdeen with additional purchase. Corporate night sponsorships are available for home games throughout the 2020-2021 season. Call Aaron at 605-380-5852 for more information. And don't forget, Wings Weekly is now a podcast. Find the audio for this season's episodes on Spotify, Stitcher, or on iHeartRadio. For all the latest news and information on the Wings, visit aberdeenwings.com or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram. Once again, Assistant Coach Mike Hill, thanks so much for taking some time to come on with us.
My pleasure.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for this week's Wings Weekly.